Welcome back, viewer, to Chungu cha Jamii. Today we're talking about importance of premarital counseling. What is your deal breakers? What are those things that you look into when you're going into a premarital counseling? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So, Mr. James, before we went on a break, we were talking about we have talked about a lot of things. And one thing that I had asked before we go for a break was, do we put it out? What are my non-negotiables? What are my negotiables? What are my deal breakers? What are the bonuses that I'm looking into? I'm from the school of thought whereby I just keep it to myself. It's a reminder of me. What is Eunice putting up or open to put up with? And what am I not to? Those are reminders to self. Is it advisable for me to put it out? What if what I don't conform to is what you conform to, and you'll be like, are we going to lose each other just simply because of this? Can't we agree to disagree on this? Or in most cases, you find that, correct me if I'm wrong, whoever is so adamant is most probably going to make the other person bow. And to agreeing to disagree to what they believe to. And if I am the, even the Bible say we should, what is this word? Submit. Yes. In the sense of submission, mostly it's the wife to submit to the husband. What if, what are my values? What are my, those things that I hold so highly and dearly? They're not aligning with yours, and cannot submit to it. And how do we balance it?
You see, that's why premarital counseling is important, because there are things you can keep to yourself when you're just friends, when you're just getting to know each other, and you're thinking, this one I'll just keep to myself and get to know this person more before I can open up. Then you move on to the dating phase, you start laying bare some things. Now, premarital counseling is what I call the surgery room. That's where you open up everything. So there are some values that go with premarital counseling. One of them is honesty. Like, you honestly say what you wish for, what you want, who you are, where you want to go, what you can stand, what you can't stand. Be honest, be true to yourself, because at the end of the day, you're making a decision for a lifetime, because that's basically ideally how a marriage is meant to be. So you'd rather say these things barely, openly now, than start opening up in marriage and the other person is like, you should have told me. You should have told me these things a long time ago. Why are you telling me now? Why are you bringing it up now? So transparency is also important. And because it's a surgery, in a surgery we talk about you opening up. So there is vulnerability also. You being open to the extent that all your weaknesses are laid on the table and all your strengths are there for the other person to scrutinize and see whether this is something they can live with. And you're doing the same. You're dissecting the other person on the table, and they lay bare everything they have and who they are, so that you make a decision on whether this is somebody you want to live with the rest of your life or not. Otherwise, if you don't do that, and couples that don't go through premarital counseling make that mistake, because they hold on to stuff and play this superficial game of dating and putting their best foot forward and compromising on a lot of things. Only later on, when they get married and they start saying, in my house, I don't want this and this. And the person is like, Kwani, you've changed. So that's why you'll hear most couples sometimes complain that my husband was a good person when we were dating. When we got married, he changed. Or my wife was very gentle, was very kind, was very agreeable when we were dating. Now in marriage, she's a tigress. She's fighting all over, she's quarreling, she's raising her voice, she's talking back. These are things she never used to do during dating. And that is why premarital counseling is important, because premarital counseling gives you opportunities for you to go through several scenarios that bring bare things that you could have otherwise hidden. and kept under wraps until marriage. So it gives you the opportunity to actually explore each other, explore the non-negotiables, explore the compromises, so that by the time you're making this decision, you're actually ready. You know this person, they know you, you're vulnerable to each other, and you're willing to work together.
Wow.
Yes.
That's too much to take.
That's why it's counseling. So in the counseling room, it's a room where you basically become vulnerable. So honesty is key, openness is key, transparency is key. If you're still hiding stuff from each other by that time about yourselves to each other through premarital counseling, then your marriage will be based on a lie. Because the true colors will start coming out after marriage, and that's why somebody starts saying, I think I made a mistake. I didn't see this coming. I never knew you were like this, or I never knew that's what you wanted. Now you are saying it now, and I already made the decision to marry you. I think I made a mistake. So it's you'd rather, and sometimes I tell couples, you'd rather break a courtship, you'd rather break the dating during the dating season than break a marriage. Because breaking a marriage is more difficult, it's more painful, because the two of you have already been glued together. There are decisions you've already made together as a couple, other decisions affecting even the children you've brought forth. So it is a more painful experience to break a marriage than it is to break a courtship. In a courtship, you're like, okay, it was nice knowing you, but I don't think I can do this.
Adios.
It was nice meeting you. But in marriage, you don't say it's nice meeting you. You've already gone too far into it. Other people are now involved. There are two families now involved with extended families. You have your own children that are involved in this. So it's a more painful experience, not just for the two of you, but for everybody else involved in your union.
Wow.
Yes, but during dating, it's just the two of you. During courtship, you're trying to bring the two families together, but they're not decided. They're not part of the union yet. But once you say, I do, then the two families have become one. The two people have become one. And by extent, they've joined two families, two cultures. Now these people are relatives. So this family has formed bonds with members of the other family. And then the two of you decide, we're not doing this. But you've already involved everybody else. Everybody is in-law. You get. The children here have cousins from the other family. And so now you're telling them you're no longer family? How? So those are decisions you have to make before you reach that point. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Moving on.
Yes.
We've come, we are so open. What happens right now with the things that are happening, with the current economic state that you are in? You're having a lot of couples who are working on a long distance relationship. In such cases whereby this couple are barely together, I understand interacting with people that if we live together and we see each other every day, that is when I'll get to know who true James is.
Yes.
Compared to the James who comes home once or thrice in a year. That's honeymoon stage, because you barely get to see my other side.
Yes.
I barely get to see your other side. How do you have that premarital counseling with such a couple who they're so okay with a long distance relationship, with not seeing each other and are working it out? How do you have that conversation around with such a couple?
My experience and my stand has always been that as you're planning to settle with someone, time is of the essence. Spend quality time together. Now that quality time, both of you have to be deliberate and intentional about creating that time, especially if you have a long distance relationship. That would mean, therefore, going through a premarital session requires that both of you create time to be there as a couple. There'll be sessions for individual persons, the individual parties or in the union, and then there are sessions that are joint, that the two of you must actually be there. So you have to create time to go the journey together. And number two, it's difficult to conduct premarital counseling when the two of you are very far apart, in the sense that there are scenarios, for example, in premarital counseling, where you're told, given an assignment, because it's a journey that you're taking. So there are assignments or activities that the two of you must do together to test your compatibility. And these activities require that you spend time together and actually go through the experience. For example, have you disagreed on money? How did you handle the disagreement on money? You see, if you're living apart, then you don't have the experience of having to make a financial decision together. So you have to be together for at least 6 months before marriage so that you actually get to know each other. And that is why the period it takes, because people keep asking, what is the right time? How long should we date before we get married? And that period is dependent on how much quality time have you spent together. Because there are couples who see each other every day. If they take 6 months, that time is enough, because in 6 months they've actually gone through so much together, or even 1 year, they've gone through so much together. They've had their conflicts, they meet every day, they've had the opportunity to see each other in different scenarios. You've seen them angry, you've seen them hungry, you've seen them without makeup. So you've actually gone through the phases. But this long distance, you only see the guy when he's made up. You've never seen him without his suit on or his nice clothes, with a nice cologne. You've never seen him going to the market with his flip-flops or Crocs. Okay, you've never seen that side of this person. But if you are spending a lot of time together, these scenarios will just come. You'll experience this person in the different phases or the different facets of their life. But long distance now gives you the disadvantage of only meeting this person in their best element. When you have the date where it's a weekend together, or maybe a day, or if they are abroad, maybe you meet once a year or twice a year, that is a disadvantage, because the rest of the year you actually just get FaceTime only, maybe through social media, but you're actually not seeing the person. So that cannot be likened to meeting somebody every day. So quality time is what I'd say couples should create in order to explore each other and get to know each other, especially during the period of courtship, because that is when now you are unveiling each other to yourselves, so that you get to know who is this person, and they get to know who am I, what do I stand for, what do I believe in, how do I act under different circumstances, and so on and so forth. But those circumstances will not be there if there is no time or opportunity to be together in those circumstances. Yes.
Interesting. You had mentioned about in this premarital is where we're bringing in two different families with everything different, bringing them together. At this stage, is this where we look and see how much of an influence or how much of weight this family carries in regards to us as a couple? If it is, it's for me as a lady, maybe my family has more say, or I have to consult everything. How now do we come to navigate around the family issues, whereby if I consult everything to my dad or to my mom, and yet again, maybe you as my partner doesn't conform to that, and you'll be like, why do you have to keep on asking everything? Are you a child? Can't you make your own decision? Maybe this is how I've been brought up. This is how I find it best, because we are moving in as a team and as a family before coming in to join with you. Maybe that is my greatest value, even as a person. Maybe my parents will be like, you're consulting too much. And I'm like, I prefer it that way, so that we are all in the same page. What happens if this family, if us, we are so connected, or we are not so connected, we are so distant, we do our own things. I tell you, come, we are having a party or we are having a family meeting, and I'll be like, today I'm so busy, I'm not coming. We are not united, and this other maybe are so united. Or the other way around, we are not all united for the both family, or we are all united, but have different issues that we also need to bring at par.
True.
Do we have circumstances where family affect us as a couple, and by the end of the day don't continue on?
True. So that brings us to the other issue, because we were talking about what issues do we actually tackle and discuss in premarital counseling. So the issue of the in-laws is very important, because you're not just marrying this person. As much as marriage is for two, these two people don't exist in a vacuum. The man came from a family, the woman came from a family. So the two are actually coming from some base, from some form of family setup. And every family has its own beliefs, its own weaknesses, its own strifes, its own triumphs. And so as the two are marrying, they are not just marrying themselves and their personalities, they're actually marrying their backgrounds as well. They're bringing together different upbringings into one union. And also the issue of what is the role of the man or the woman you're marrying in their family. Because if you're marrying a firstborn, for example, that firstborn is coming from a family where probably they have siblings, and probably the parents maybe are aging. And so this man that you're marrying, that is the firstborn, is actually the breadwinner of that family. He's taking care of his siblings, still paying school fees for his brothers and sisters, or his nephews and nieces, and then you are coming into that setup. So you have to understand that and see how you will navigate that, discuss issues around that. Because the families, the two families, will affect you directly and indirectly. You've brought a scenario where one family can be very close-knit, the other family is not, is disintegrated. We don't choose where we were born. So some people are born from a very broken family. There's no unity, there's no sense of brotherhood, so everybody is doing their own thing. Others have been brought up in a polygamous family. And then this guy from a polygamous family where he knows that we have 3 mothers and we have 11 brothers and 12 sisters. So it's a big family. Is getting married to somebody who comes from a family that is monogamous with 2 brothers and a sister, or just a brother and a sister. The belief about family and the experience of those 2 people are very different when it comes to what a family is. The conflicts that this person in a polygamous family has experienced are very different from the conflicts that the person coming from a monogamous family has experienced. So they have to share these experiences during courtship. They have to share the experiences during premarital counseling so that you understand where is this person coming from. Because that informs, for example, later on when you start making financial decisions and you're talking about your mother-in-laws, who gets support if we are to support our parents? Because we have the duties as children to support our parents, to honor our parents. So if I'm coming from a not very well-off to-do family, and I'm marrying a lady who is coming from a well-to-do family, whose mother deserves the paycheck at the end of the month? Whose mother deserves more help and support in terms of finances? Whose parent do we support more than the other? And as a lady who's coming into this setup, are you open to that? Because there are ladies who get married and say, this is our family, we have to set our own rules, we have to have our own constitution, and in our constitution, I have to know where every money goes, which is true, but at the same time, you can't prevent the man now, after marrying you, to stop supporting the family he used to support, probably his siblings, simply because now you have a family to start. In most African communities, we have what we call the black tax. So most young men, for example, are taking care of bills that should be taken care of by their own parents. For example, paying school fees for their siblings, younger siblings. So this is something they cannot avoid. And when they get married, now it becomes a bone of contention because the lady is saying, now you are married, we have our own children, we have to take care of their school fees, you have to take care of your children. You can't be taking care of your brothers or your sisters, so you have to see how to help. So as a lady getting married into such a setup, are you open to offer that help and support? Are you going to be accommodative, or are you going to be antagonistic and bringing up issues of around finances? Kwamba wewe unasaidia tu kwetu ni mara ngapi hata mama yangu jemnunulia leso. You start getting those conflicts and you're wondering, but when I was marrying you, you knew that I take care of my siblings. So now you want me to start supporting your parent, yet your parent is not very needy. Just because you want to be competitive. You want to feel that if you're going to do that to your family, you have to do also that. If you're doing that for your mother, do that for my mother too. So instead of, to avoid such conflicts, just discuss them well in advance so that you know what you're getting into. You know that when I marry this person, I'm actually going to help him support his siblings so that they're independent, so that we can start raising our family. So that will delay our financial goals. So we're not going to settle anytime soon. We're not building a house anytime soon until his 3 brothers or 3 sisters finish high school. So that's something you have to have at the back of your mind. But if you get in and you're starting to make these big financial plans, and it's like, yes, I'm with you on that, but I still have to take care of this. So can we finish this first, then do that? And you're feeling like your life has come to a standstill. So you have to be open-minded enough to know, this is what I'm getting into, and am I willing to actually go through that journey, or am I not willing? So when we insist on premarital counseling, those are some of the things you have to discuss and agree on. Because if you don't agree, there'll always be the bone of contention later on, and those are the same issues that lead to the dissolution of a marriage. Because divorce is not over very many things, actually, and it's not big issues. Sometimes people say they are irreconcilable differences, but more often than not, they are issues that could have been dealt with way before even getting into the marriage. So the marriage only forces you now to bring them on the table. You are hiding them during dating, the marriage forces you. Because they say love is blind, but marriage is the eye opener.
Indeed,
Yes.
marriage is, dating is blind, or
Love is blind.
so to speak. This is where we say it, hatuwezi kula mapenzi.
Hatuwezi
We
kula
have now
mapenzi.
to face reality head
Yes,
on.
yes.
Moving on now. We have had issues to do with family backgrounds. Issues to do with, how do I call it? And not beliefs, but patterns. People lie, patterns don't. And you may agree to me or correct me if I'm wrong. If these patterns are so consistent, you'll hear people who are saying the family background check, whereby I'm from a family setup whereby marriages thrive, we do well in marriages, or what you've just mentioned, polygamous marriages. My great-great-grandfather was polygamous, coming up to my father, who is also a polygamous. So you look into it whereby also my brothers may end up being polygamous. Just because we are from a family lineage of polygamous family. Or whereby you hereby there are those family, so to speak. I don't know if I should say it's myth or it's the pattern in their family, whereby violence is all over. Other people whereby they don't maintain marriages, they don't maintain marriage. They get into marriage, but 2, 3, 5 years later, they all get divorced. They all get separated. We also have instances of death. That if you get married into this family, by the time you're getting into the 7th year, these people die. We have issues of also insanity. How do you come to discuss this and look into it whereby, yes, this could be patterns of where we are coming from, but again, we are individuals who are so adamant into breaking this pattern. How do we have this conversation so that by the end of the day, we don't want to separate, but also these things are there? How do we bring or marry these again to individuals?
Okay. So that brings me back to the point I was talking about, being transparent and being vulnerable. Because all of us come from somewhere, and where we come from has affected who we are as we meet as a couple. So everybody is coming from somewhere. And so they have formed sets of beliefs, they have formed set of values that they are coming with into the union. So during the premarital counseling, that's when now you start discussing these issues. And that's why it should take time. So those people who hurry into getting married, and then you discover, kumbe, I got married to a family of witches. Mother-in-law ni mchawi ni naitrana. So it's important to take time and actually explore all these things, put them on the table with vulnerability. And when we talk about vulnerability, vulnerability should be married together with respect and confidentiality. So that as I open up, and this is an issue I've faced with a lot of men are afraid to open up to women because they feel that, and some women have let them down because they feel that I open up to a woman and then the lady uses that against me later on. Either in the dating process or in the marriage, you are quarreling about something totally different and then something totally unrelated is brought up. Hata ndio maana kwenu mko hivyo nini. It's me talking, it's not my family talking to you.
Sure.
But now you're bringing my cousins into it, my brothers, my mother into it. So it's important for you to explore these things in a table of vulnerability and respect. That you respect that this is an individual I'm marrying. They did not choose where they're coming from, but what is their value right now? What are their values now? What do they believe in now? And what steps are they taking to overcome the weaknesses or the dark past that they're coming from? If there's some darkness in their past, what are they doing? What journey do you see them taking? And are they talking about going this journey alone? Are you helping them go through the journey? Are you willing to walk with them on that journey? Because some issues, like you bring issues, deep issues like insanity, deep issues like witchcraft, deep issues that have a spiritual dimension. Do you have the same faith, the two of you, so that you can actually walk together? If this person is saying, I am praying, for example, I want to pray and fast to break some curses that I've seen in our family. Are you willing to walk with this person as they do that? Or are you like, if there are curses, that's how it goes on for me, so we break this deal. So that's what I'm talking about, vulnerability and respect. That you respect this person as an individual and you hold their matters in confidentiality. So that whatever they share with you is not something now that become talking points with your girls as you exchange notes on a girls' night out. They're saying, hey, James, hey, mnamuona tu hivyo. James, unajua mama yake is like this. We, hata sijui niliingia wapi. Should I really get married to it should not be a talking point between you and your girls after that. Hold it with confidentiality so that he can trust you enough to open up more, and vice versa, so that even as you get into marriage, you know that there are issues that you are dealing with as a couple, and those issues don't leave your bedroom.
I have a question. I want you to give your parting shot.
Yes.
But this is a yes or no answer. Mm-hmm. The same way you've said exchanging notes with my girls at a girl night out about my relationship and what have you.
Yes.
Do men have the same? Yes or no?
No.
Hey, Matetea boy child.
No, let me tell you why.
No. We'll give this why as you continue this conversation online. Yes. Please give your parting shot as per now.
My parting shot is this, that marriage is not a ceremony and it's not an event. Marriage is a lifelong journey and a process. And because it is a journey and a process, it requires preparation. And the best way to prepare for it is premarital counseling. So anybody who's seeking to get into marriage, please carry your backpack with you. There are things you need in your backpack to go this journey. Make sure it's full because you will need it later.
Thank you so much for honoring our invite and
My
for
pleasure.
coming.
My pleasure.
Viewer, I hope you've learned as much as I have. My take home today is love is blind, but marriage is an eye-opener. Let's continue this conversation online across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. Till next time, have a nice time. Goodbye.